Folks, I was wrong. Some of you were wrong. And this video, we're going to talk about why.
Hey, buddy, watch this.
That's right, folks. A lot of us underrated a lot of Ashes of Outland cards. For this video, I took data of community rankings. I took the played rate of cards, made ranked lists of each of those, compared cards across those lists. So one that got ranked really low but is being played a lot would have a huge difference between those two rankings and therefore be a very underrated card, as you'll soon see. But before we get into the list, I do want to thank our sponsor for this video. It's Glasses USA, which is a site I've actually been using for a long time now, like maybe 8-10 years. I don't know when I first used Glasses USA, but I've been a supporter for a while. They've treated me very well, so I was thrilled when they wanted to sponsor a video, and I was even more thrilled when I got this in the mail, which is a box from Glasses USA full of glasses. And in fact, I guess I'm going to put on a pair right now, and ooh, brown glasses. This is a totally new world for me. You guys have only ever seen me in black glasses, but here we go. And ooh, yeah, I'm looking at myself in my streaming software, and I gotta say I like the brown. It looks pretty good. We may have to try this out more often. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about Glasses USA later in the video, and I'm going to be trying on some more of the frames they sent me, but real quick, there's a link in the description below if you want to check out Glasses USA. You got 100% money back guarantee, a year-long warranty, free shipping and returns, and they're making it as easy as possible to shop for glasses online in the COVID-19 era where you may want to stay home. You might not want to go buy frames somewhere. They're going to help you out with an app that will help you scan your prescription. You could try out glasses online. They basically have all the features you're going to need to safely, securely, conveniently buy glasses online right now. That said, let's take these shiny new frames into our list here, starting off with the 10th most underrated card in Ashes of Outland. So at the number 10 spot here, we have Rusted Raider, a neutral card that I think probably just didn't get a lot of attention from many people in the community. Sometimes these neutral cards feel like arena cards, throwaway cards. You don't really take a second look. You don't think they're going to do much. But in reality, this card currently being played in Highlander Mage on occasion. In fact, a lot of popular lists right now, even GM lists, are picking up Rusted Raider, moving it up to the 45th most played card in the expansion there for a pretty big jump from 107th to 45th. I gave this one 3 stars. I did see some potential. I think it is about a 3-star card, so this is one of the few cards on this video I saw very clearly didn't need new glasses for this one. So let's enjoy my accuracy here for a very, very brief moment because it's going to get ugly soon. Moving on here to the number 9 spot, it's Fungus Fortunes for Druid. Of course, really important piece of the Spell Druid package, the deck that's empowered by Kael'thas, gaining a ton of popularity early on, still retaining some relevance even past Kael'thas being nerfed up to 7 mana. And this is just some of the fuel to get your hand full of stuff. It's also a cheap spell sometimes to empower your Kael'thas. It also discards Kael'thas on occasion, but nonetheless still a really important tool in that deck. Ranked 114th by the community. So really, they didn't have a lot of faith in this one. They thought it was going to be pretty darn bad. That's almost in the bottom 20 for the entire expansion, instead being played 43rd, and that number was even higher. I'm only looking at the last 7 days of data, so this peaked much, much higher than that early on in the expansion. So I think this really was a 4-star card at some point. I gave it 3 stars, which I think saw a little bit more potential than perhaps the community at large, but still, I don't think I really gave this enough due because it really was a 4-star important card in a very high tier deck with Spell Druid. So even I underrated this one just a little. So moving on to our number 8 card here. As you can see, this is one I vastly underrated. I definitely did not see very clearly here for Prison Sun Guild. So let's actually switch out to a new set of frames here, courtesy of Glasses USA. We got ourselves some nice matte black glasses. These look really, really sharp, particularly good, by the way, on camera with lights. They aren't reflecting a lot, which is a great sign. So yeah, I definitely didn't see it with Imprisoned Sun Guild. 1 star. The community didn't either. This was actually one of the 10 worst cards, according to some of you guys. Obviously not all of you. I'm sure a lot of you got this one right. But Imprisoned Sun Guild actually being played a lot in Murloc Paladin, which is one of the better deck lists, particularly at lower skill levels. It's probably still gaining popularity, currently 49th most popular card. By the way, I did do a cutoff. Only cards inside the top 50 were considered underrated for this video. But I think that'll continue to climb. I suspect this will move up to the top 30 at some point as Murloc Paladin continues to gain relevance and sort of cement itself in the meta. The reason I miss out on this card, I thought the Dormant would be way too punishing in a tempo-based deck that needs a lot of minions to get out on the board early, but I missed Cold Light Seer very naturally following this up on curve. Sometimes it's hard to hit that Cold Light Seer buff on minions, but this guarantees you're going to have minions showing up on turn 3 if you played this on turn 1, which can really help you cement a really sticky Murloc board, and that's made this very important for Murloc Paladin, a deck which I didn't expect to be good, and I didn't even think this card would be good if it was. That's why I gave it 1 star, but instead, this wide board suits itself really nicely for that big mid-game stabilization in Murloc Paladin, and it's a great card. 4 stars at least right now. So next up here is Scrapyard Colossus. Another neutral card. I think people just say, it's a neutral card. It's for Arena. It doesn't really do anything. 118th ranked, but being played as the 41st most popular card, showing up in things like some big Druid lists, which have lost a little bit of popularity over time, so I think this one actually peaked even higher early in the expansion. And there are some other fringe lists running this as well, like some big Warlocks and big Warriors. Anything that needs those big giant minions, Scrapyard Colossus is one of your #1 choices because it's such a big sticky death rattle taunt minion. I only gave this 2 stars because I saw a little bit of potential in those big minions, but those decks don't usually make the cut as, super meta relevant decks. I do think this is probably a 3-star card still at this stage. I'd hesitate to call it 4 stars because I don't think those decks have really reached that level of tier 1, tier 2 status on average. Nonetheless, I underrated this one too, perhaps not as severely as most, but should have gave a little bit more credit here to these big giant bodies. Time and time again, these big defensive taunts keep showing up in the meta. So, moving on to our next card here, it's Gleaves of Azzinoth. And I've talked about this card a lot on stream as the card I think I'm most underrated. Even though I gave it 3 stars, you might say, man, it's not that bad, or you just thought it was a playable card. But instead, I actually think Gleaves is maybe one of the best 2 or 3 cards in the entire expansion. It's been so good in Tempo Demon Hunter, which of course has been so good. It didn't get nerfed like a lot of other cards, but I think it's been on that same power level as other cards that did get nerfed. So as far as I'm concerned, I really missed the mark on this one. I did not have the foresight or the vision for Gleaves of Azzinoth. So as tribute to that failure, I'm going to be switching glasses here again, courtesy of Glasses USA. We got ourselves a nice shiny set of black glasses. These actually look pretty darn sleek, much like the Gleaves of Azzinoth himself. Now, the community ranked this one 90th, which is better than some of our past rankings, but still, cards ranked at 90th don't get played in Hearthstone. There's usually like 40, 50 cards that see any kind of play at all. So this is well outside that playability range as far as the community was concerned. Instead, one of the top 10 cards in the entire expansion, and frankly, it could be even higher. This is a really, really good card. I doubted it, I think, because it looked a lot like other weapons that have failed in the past. But the primary difference is easy for Demon Hunter to really buff this attack, and Demon Hunter has so much pressure and so much tempo and so much swing that they can afford to hit minions a few times and still just chunk the face. So this becomes a very powerful swing card in the mid game, and also just lots of raw damage output as well. Sometimes when you run the second one, you just smack face and kill your opponent. So an incredibly good card that we all missed the mark on. Next up here is Apexis Blast, and I'm a little shocked to see this one on the list. Community ranked this at 122nd. I was stunned. It was like a 2.2 average rating for Apexis Blast, actually being played inside the top 35 because it turns out No Minion Mage, actually pretty solid tier 2/tier 3 deck depending on the moment. And it makes a lot of sense to me. Like, we saw Firelens Portal be a great card in the past. We've seen these other kind of kill something and summon something cards work really nicely. Apexis Blast does that very efficiently at 5 mana, sometimes getting discounted even more thanks to Incanter's Flow and No Minion Mage. I thought this was a 3-star card. I wasn't sure No Minion Mage was going to work, but it still seems like, solid stats, so I bumped it up to 3 instead of something like 2. But frankly, I think it's a 4-star card. I think I underrated it as well, even at 3 stars. So we all kind of missed the mark, perhaps on No Minion Mage, perhaps on the card. It's hard to separate those two things in some cases. But I suspect as we get more spells in our standard format rotation, this card's going to get even better, as will No Minion Mage, of course. And we might see that played rate climb even more, making this really, perhaps at the end of the day, one of the most underrated cards. This could be even higher on the list if we came back and did this in 6 months. So I think all of us missed the mark on this guy. At the number 4 spot here is Overconfident Orc, a card I think I very declaratively said would not be the new Tar Creeper. I don't think it's actually quite the new Tar Creeper, but boy, if it's not close, at the 18th most popular card in the expansion, being tossed into a lot of lists. Anything that's just looking to slow down aggression, play for a little bit later game plan, Overconfident Orc seems to fit okay. I think the community once again gave their kind of neutral downplay of this card. It's neutral, it won't be any good. Ranked 106. I actually thought that it would be higher than that based on some of the comments I'd seen on my YouTube. So maybe you guys are smarter than the wider Hearthstone community. That's because you're watching me, right? Right? Yeah, probably not. Now, I gave this card 3 stars, which I think this is pretty clearly a 4-star card. So even I underrated it. I thought it would be solid, but only a handful of decks would really care. Maybe stuff with taunt synergies specifically. Instead, a lot of people care, and it's actually working out pretty okay. I think there's just enough 1 health stuff in the meta, with lackeys in particular, that even when this loses its attack buff, it doesn't really matter. It still serves as a nice roadblock and actually still trades fairly efficiently into lots of things. So yeah, it's exceeded certainly the community and both my expectations. Moving on here to the top 3 of our list, it's Deep Freeze, ranked 103rd by the community. Another one outside the top 100, actually the 15th most popular card. That's really, really high for this card. It's because it's being played in pretty much every Highlander mage list right now. Those lists just have some big spell synergies inherent to them with things like Dragoncaster and Tortolan, so cards like this fit in really nicely. It's surprisingly good to just stall things like Demon Hunter attacks or 1 big minion on board while setting up some really frustrating water elementals that can create tons of problems. They just lock your board down or lock you down in many cases. So Deep Freeze is really, really efficient. I actually thought this card would be pretty solid at 3 stars. I did not think it would be in every Highlander mage list, but I thought it might fall into a handful here and there that got really greedy. So it's actually a 4-star card instead of a 4-star card according to my scale. It's been really, really good. So I was close again on this one, but still didn't quite see all the potential there that existed in such a great card. So now moving into the top 2, this one actually goes kind of in tandem with the number 1 underrated card. Ironbark was 117th at its rank and 22nd at its played rate. I gave it 2 stars, but its brother in arms here, the number 1 card, Bogbeam, had an even bigger difference going from 119th to 21st. So people thought this was going to be really, really bad. I'm an actual idiot and gave this 1 star. I don't know why I gave it 1 star. That's so crazy. But to pay respect to my lack of vision, let's switch out to our last a frame here from Glasses USA. Another nice brown frame. These actually look pretty thin and sleek compared to normal. It makes my head look skinnier, I think. I like that. But I didn't see what was going on here with Bogbeam. It turns out Spell Druid made both of those cards and our previous card, Fungus Fortunes, very, very relevant, and they remain powerful to this day. I thought personally the 3-mana discount would not be significant enough for that to matter. It just looks like a pretty inefficient removal card. I was comparing it to things like Eyebeam, for instance. Eyebeam looked insane compared to Bogbeam, but it turns out when you have 0-mana spells that synergize with a very powerful card like Kael'thas, that's an engine that can't be ignored. I certainly missed that synergy and that deck opening itself up into something ridiculous. I think it's fair to say the community did as well. I don't know why I gave this 1 star instead of 2 stars, though. This looks like a very typical 2-star rating for me, so I was overly harsh for some reason against Bogbeam, and now I look like an absolute fool, minus the very sharp glasses here, courtesy of Glasses USA. Those look pretty good. But otherwise, I don't know how I got this one so wrong. Ironbark I got wrong too, but this is even worse. So yes, far and away both the most underrated card for me personally and for the community as well. Bogbeam and Spell Druid clearly exceeded expectations, or really showed up out of nowhere, because I don't think any of us saw this coming. So yeah, that's our 10 most underrated cards from Ashes of Outland. I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling a little bit like a fool. So I got one thing here to fix that. Glasses USA hooked me up with these, and I gotta say, I look pretty darn cool. So maybe that'll restore a little bit of ego, a little bit of confidence here. Big shout out and thanks to Glasses USA for sponsoring this video, letting me have a little bit of fun with it. That said, thanks so much for watching this video. Share your thoughts in the comments below on all these cards, and what you got right and what you got wrong. But until then, really appreciate your time, and until next time, game on.